Hi everyone, welcome back. Here we go with equations. I'm not on this one doing the very basics, that will be on another video. Let's have a look at what we've got. X means it stands in place of a number. I keep thinking back to primary school. Between the 2 and the X, a long time ago, a commission of people in Europe got together and standardised things, and one of the things they standardised about 250 years ago, I think, was that when you write two things together other than two numbers, it means there's a multiply in between. So we know there's a multiply there. We also know there's a multiply there. And people get confused on algebra because they don't know the basic rules or don't really understand why. If you're in primary school, we could have written 2 times the box plus 1 equals 7. I always like to do this to people. I'm thinking of a number, I multiply it by 2, and then I add 1 to it, and I get 7. It's good fun with the class and have fun, and people have to guess it, especially if I have rewards or lollies or something. So let's have a look at it. I'm thinking of a number, when I double it and I add 1, I get 7. There's a lot of people out there just do this. And we're going to take off the one that's 6. 2 what's a 6 and the answer's 3. So in primary school you can do that. When you get to this one over here, it's harder. And when we get to equations further on, my goodness, this is the simplest that we can possibly do, and the method goes harder. I've had students over the years who 2-3 years later finally said, Mr. P, please go back to the basics and teach me all over again. And I even had arguments with them sometimes, or just this tension all the time. I don't need to do that, I can do it in my head. So I'm pleading with you. After a lot of years teaching, I still plead with people, try to accept this and look at what it is, and once you get the hang of it, the whole purpose is so you can shortcut later. So what's the people who don't do it? In the end, a lot of people struggle to shortcut. There's going to be people watching it just know how to shortcut, it's too easy. But what's legitimate shortcuts when the question gets harder. So let's learn the methods so you can do the harder questions later on. I always talk about obs. We want to do the opposite to both sides. And I can't stop talking about it's like a seesaw. We've got to balance up the seesaw, or we've got to balance up the scales. If I had one kid on this, if I had 2 kids on this side and 2 kids on there, all about the same weight, and one kid hops off, the seesaw goes. So one kid hops this side and they balance up again. We might have to adjust it a little bit because we're not exactly the same weight. So if I remove 1 from the left hand side of the equals, that's from the left hand side, I remove 1 from that side. How do I balance up the seesaw? How do I balance up the scales? I take 1 from that side. Because some people don't like to put the -1 there. When I was at school, I was not allowed to write the -1 there. I had to write a separate line of working out. Some people think that gets confusing. I just don't find it. Occasionally I might find a student and I might then show them a little bit more about it. So what is a 1 take a 1? It's gone. So look at the idea of what we're doing. The 1 was there, now it's not. So we make this left hand side simpler. The whole goal is to get, it's right in red, X by itself. I want this, even though I know the answer to this one, to say to me the answer is. And the method we learn using in math on simple things, on the very obvious questions, so we can do it on the harder things. Accepting that's big. 7 take 1 is just 6. What's between the 2 and the X is a multiply. I want to do the opposites of both sides. If I half this side, I half this side. A lot of people can just write X equals 3, but the method is so much more important. So what's the opposite of divide by 2? Divide by 2. I could write divide 2 that way, but it's much slower than writing that one there. When you get to more complicated equations, you just can't put the divide in. It's much easier to go a fraction by. So I divide that side by 2, I divide that side by 2. How many times does 2 go into 2? Once, so I can write 1x. 2 into 6 goes 3, so look what we're really doing. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 6 goes 3. Most of the time we just cross them out. Doesn't mean they're gone, it means they've become a 1. So they don't have to write the 1. So now a little bit faster on the process. What's it? Oh, and it tells us what we already knew was true. How do I get rid of the -1 this time? Opposites both sides. Opposite of -1 is +1. You might notice that the number by itself is what I'm doing first all the time. I could get rid of the times by 3 first, but we'll leave that for later videos. For the moment, I want a habit where creatures of habit want to do it the same way all the time. If I add one to this side, add one that side to balance the scales up. So now I'm left with a 3x. Nice part is, this is now less complicated than what it was before. 11 plus 1 is 12. Now I've got to multiply between the 3 and the x. How do I get rid of a times by 3? I divide this side by 3. I divide that side by 3. So now we go 3 into 3 is 1. I don't have to write the 1. Can cross them off if I wanted to. How many times is 3 going to 12? Is 4. So method works. Could you have guessed it? A lot of people don't like guessing it. Takes too long for their brain. You have to think about it. You could have gone 11 plus 1. There's people who teach swap sides, swap signs. I'll teach that later as a nice little thing to think about, but not when I first started. So this one, I could get rid of that times 5 by going divide 5. More complicated. If I go divide 5, I end up with this one. Fractions. And I've talked enough already about people struggling with fractions, so don't introduce fractions unless you have to, or later on when you're more confident. So how do I get rid of the minus 3? It's all there by itself. It's very easy to remove it. If I plus 3 to one side, I plus 3 to the other side. The 3's are gone. I literally say gone at times. They're gone. I could say 0. We've simplified this to say 5x equals 10. Nice easy one you can see in your head. Actually, sometimes I do watch students trying to guess and students showing some working out, and usually the students guessing is slower than the students working out. You get people very good though. But for the majority of people, they're not that good at it. So that's a times 5. How do I get rid of a multiply by 5? The opposite of times 5 is divide 5. Do it to one side, do it to the other. 5 into 5 goes once, don't need to write the 1. 5 into 10 goes twice, and we've got the answer. Now, our first taste of guessing what this is. Same equation as that, but instead of a 7, I've got a 6. So we're going to get everyone's favourite topic, fractions. So now it's harder to guess it. I'd struggle, no, I wouldn't struggle to guess it, but people will struggle to guess it. So we could get rid of the times 2. Why don't we get rid of the times 2 first? Because it introduces fractions unnecessarily. So I can get rid of the plus 1, obviously the plus 1 is minus 1. If I do it to the left hand side, I do it to the right hand side. So I've simplified this, it's gone, and I've got 2x, you don't have to cross that out, it's just something I do. 6 take 1 is 5. Now it's a simpler, looks simpler, I want the equation to say, here is the answer, so I don't have to think. Incredible part is I have very, very, very good mental arithmetic, but all we're ever doing in math is trying to get it so you can simplify the process so you can think less, which is interesting. In many ways I say that math is a system of how to make us more lazy, but it's not lazy, it's more efficient. So there's a multiply between 2 and that. Why? Because a long time ago a group of mathematicians, I think from France and Italy and Hungary and England, all got together and made that decision. And it works well, by the way. If I divide that side by 2, I divide that by 2, and there's the answer to the question. 2 into 2 goes once, don't have to write it. And actually the answer is 5 on 2. Of course, a lot of people will go 2 into 5 goes twice, and there's 1 left over. So if we started with halves, I end up with halves. You don't have to do this, but you will have teachers that demand you write that, and if you don't, for your better interest, they want to nag you about writing it as 2.5. Other thing I could have written instead would have been a half 0.5, so I could have written 2.5. So there we go. The first of the basic ones with 2-step equations, same process. We learn the process so that when it's harder, actually see you don't have to think so much. And it's really quick and easy, especially when the numbers become worse. Thank you.